My gold digger best friend only showed up when I had a rich boyfriend until I started dating her baby daddy. My gold digging best friend only seemed to remember I existed when I was dating a man with money. Then, after years of watching her interfere with my relationships, I unknowingly started dating the father of her child. My name is Claire, and I should have understood the pattern the first time Vanessa ignored every message I sent for 3 straight months, only to appear at my apartment carrying a bottle of wine the day after I posted a picture with Grant. Grant was my boyfriend at the time. He was a successful technology executive with an expensive car, an even more expensive watch, and the kind of confidence that came from never having to worry about a $200 dinner bill. Vanessa had not asked how I was doing in months, but the moment she saw him on my social media, she suddenly missed me. I still buzzed her into the building because that was what I had always done. She had been my best friend since middle school, and some part of me continued to believe that history was the same thing as loyalty. When I opened the door, she wrapped her arms around me as though we had spoken the night before. "Oh my God, Claire, I've missed you so much," she said. "Work has been completely insane." Vanessa did not have a job at the time. She was rotating between 3 different men, each of whom seemed to believe he was the only one in her life. I knew that, but I did not confront her. I simply took the wine from her, poured us each a glass, and followed her into my living room. She settled onto my couch with the comfort of someone who had never disappeared and immediately said, "So, tell me everything about Grant. He looks incredibly handsome in your pictures." There was no apology for ignoring me. She did not ask what had happened in my life during those 3 months. She did not even pretend to be curious about me before turning the conversation toward my boyfriend. At the time, I noticed it, but I pushed the discomfort aside. Looking back, that evening was not an isolated incident. It was the clearest version of a pattern that had been repeating for years. Vanessa and I met in 7th grade after her family moved to our town in Ohio. She was beautiful in a way that looked effortless, even when I knew she had spent an hour getting ready. Other girls either wanted to be close to her or wanted nothing to do with her. I was the theater kid with braces, an overfilled backpack, and a novel in my hands whenever I had 5 quiet minutes. There was no obvious reason for us to become friends, but somehow we did. Throughout high school, we were nearly inseparable. Vanessa spent most weekends at my house because her own home life was unstable. Her mother was rarely present, and her father had left when she was 5. I understood why she hated going home. My family had problems of its own, but my parents were there, and our house felt predictable in a way hers never did. One afternoon during our sophomore year, Vanessa's mother forgot to pick her up from school. We waited outside for almost 2 hours before my mother came to get both of us. Vanessa cried quietly in the back seat while I held her hand. I promised her she would always have my family and that she would always have me. I meant it. That promise became part of how I understood our friendship. Years later, even when she treated me badly, I remembered the abandoned girl sitting beside me in my mother's car. I kept believing that if I was patient enough, loyal enough, and forgiving enough, I could make up for all the people who had disappointed her before me. The friendship began changing after high school. I attended a state university with the help of a partial scholarship. Vanessa enrolled in community college but dropped out after 1 semester. Not long afterward, she moved into an apartment downtown that was far beyond anything she could have paid for herself. When I asked how she was managing the rent, she smiled and said she was seeing someone. That man turned out to be Richard, a 42-year-old married man who owned several car dealerships. I did not approve, but I was young and still believed friendship meant accepting someone's choices without challenging them too directly. I told myself it was not my place to judge. During that relationship, Vanessa called me every few weeks, usually late at night and always after Richard had returned to his wife. She would cry about feeling used, lonely, or worthless. I would stay on the phone until she calmed down, and then I would not hear from her again until the next crisis. One night, she called around 2 in the morning because Richard had once again promised to leave his wife and then changed his mind. I had an important exam the next day, but Vanessa was sobbing so hard that I felt cruel even considering ending the call. I stayed awake with her until nearly 4, repeating that she deserved better and helping her breathe through the panic. I failed the exam. Vanessa never asked how it went. When Richard finally ended the relationship, Vanessa disappeared completely. For 6 months, I called, texted, and even went to her apartment because I was worried something had happened to her. She never answered me. Her social media remained active, though. She posted pictures from restaurants I could not afford and wore clothes that cost more than my textbooks. She was alive, social, and apparently doing fine. She simply had no use for me. After college, I met Ethan, my first serious adult boyfriend. He was studying to become a lawyer, had clear plans for his future, and seemed to have his life organized in a way neither Vanessa nor I did. The moment I began posting pictures with him, Vanessa reappeared. "I've been meaning to call you," she told me. "I went through such a dark period, but I'm finally doing better. We should get brunch." I agreed. Within 5 minutes of sitting down, she asked about Ethan. She wanted to know where he came from, what kind of law he planned to practice, where we went on dates, and whether the relationship was serious. I mistook her interest for an attempt to rebuild our friendship, so I introduced them. That was a mistake. Vanessa began joining us constantly. She suggested double dates, inserted herself into group plans, and sometimes texted Ethan directly to arrange outings. At first, I tried to see it as a positive sign. My best friend and my boyfriend liked each other, and I thought that should make my life easier. Then I began noticing the smaller things. Vanessa touched Ethan's arm whenever she laughed. At bars, she leaned close enough to speak directly into his ear, even when the music was not especially loud. She sent him messages at strange hours disguised as questions about me. Would Claire like this gift? Do you know her ring size? What kind of flowers does she really like? Ethan thought it was sweet that she wanted to help him. I thought it was calculated, but I could not explain why without sounding jealous. Vanessa rarely did anything blatant enough to confront. She preferred comments that could be dismissed as jokes. At dinner, she would say, "Claire used to be so much more adventurous. Remember when you stayed out until 3 in the morning? You've become so responsible now." She said responsible in a way that made it sound like boring. She also told embarrassing stories from our past. None of them were devastating on their own, but she chose stories that made me look insecure, childish, or pathetic. She described the time I got drunk at a college party and cried over a boy who did not like me, adding dramatic gestures and details that made the whole table laugh. Ethan laughed too. I smiled because I did not want to look overly sensitive, but each time Vanessa did it, I felt myself becoming smaller. When Ethan eventually ended the relationship, he told me he was not ready for anything serious. Vanessa vanished almost immediately afterward. I was so heartbroken that I barely noticed at first. I spent weeks crying, eating ice cream straight from the container, and wondering what was wrong with me. 3 months later, I saw a picture on Ethan's social media. He was in a new relationship. The woman was not Vanessa, but she looked remarkably similar to her, blonde, petite, polished, and clearly aware of exactly how to pose for a photograph. I blocked his account and Vanessa's and tried to move forward. The months after Ethan were difficult. I gained weight, stopped wearing makeup, and arrived at work in sweatpants often enough that my manager quietly asked whether I was all right. I was not, but I said I was. My mother called one afternoon and asked whether I had spoken to Vanessa recently. She had always treated Vanessa like a second daughter, and still remembered the girl who used to sleep at our house every weekend. "We're not really friends anymore," I told her. "That's a shame," my mother said. "She always seemed to care about you so much." I wanted to laugh, cry, or explain everything, but I did not have the energy. I simply said, "Things change." It took almost 8 months for me to feel like myself again. I started exercising, not because I was focused on losing weight, but because I wanted to feel physically strong. I accepted invitations even when staying home felt easier. I began building a life that did not depend on waiting for a boyfriend or a friend to choose me. Then I met Grant at a work conference in Chicago. He was the keynote speaker, and I was attending on behalf of the marketing firm where I had recently started working. We met over coffee after his presentation, talked longer than either of us expected, and exchanged numbers before the conference ended. Grant was 38, 11 years older than I was. He was financially successful, but that was not the reason I fell for him. He was curious, thoughtful, and unusually attentive. He asked questions that made me feel like he wanted to know how my mind worked. Instead of asking only how my day had been, he asked what had made me laugh. He remembered how I took my coffee, that I hated cilantro, and that my favorite movie was an obscure independent film from the 1990s. He could spend hours talking with me about serious subjects and then make me laugh over something completely ridiculous. I kept the relationship private at first. After what had happened with Ethan and Vanessa, I wanted to protect it from outside attention. 3 months later, Grant asked me to be his girlfriend during dinner at a restaurant overlooking the city. I was so happy that I posted one picture of us together. My phone rang less than an hour later. "Claire, it's Vanessa," she said when I answered. "I know." "Oh my God, I just saw your post. You're dating someone? Why didn't you tell me? We haven't spoken in almost a year." I know. Life became so chaotic, but I want to fix things. Can I come over? I want to hear everything." I should have said no. Instead, curiosity, guilt, and old loyalty won. I let her back into my life. For the next 6 months, Vanessa behaved as though we were best friends again. She came to my apartment constantly, commented on every post I made, and texted me almost every day. More than anything, she wanted access to Grant. He liked her at first. He described her as intense but entertaining. I tried to believe her return was genuine, even though nearly every conversation eventually circled back to him. The comments began gradually. At dinner, Vanessa might turn to Grant and say, "Don't you think Claire would look incredible in red? She never wears much color anymore. She used to have such a great sense of style." During a movie, she would lean toward him and whisper loudly enough for me to hear, "Claire always falls asleep before the ending. You'll get used to it." At a party with Grant's colleagues, she pulled me aside and told me a woman named Natalie had been asking questions about me. "I think she might have feelings for Grant," Vanessa said. "I'm only telling you because you should keep an eye on her." There was no evidence that Natalie had any romantic interest in him. I eventually learned Vanessa had invented the entire concern, but by then she had already planted the idea in my mind. At professional events, I began watching Grant whenever he spoke to another woman. My insecurity led to arguments that embarrassed both of us. Grant had never given me a reason to distrust him, and I hated that I was becoming suspicious, but Vanessa always presented her warnings as though she were protecting me. One evening, Grant and I planned a quiet dinner at his apartment. When I arrived, Vanessa was already there. "Surprise," she said brightly. "I ran into Grant at the store and he invited me to join you." Later, when Vanessa was out of the room, Grant leaned toward me and said, "I didn't invite her. She followed me from the parking lot, and I didn't know how to tell her to leave without being rude. That should have ended the friendship." Instead, I made excuses. Vanessa was lonely. She had few stable relationships. She needed support. I kept interpreting invasive behavior as evidence of emotional damage rather than deliberate manipulation. Over time, I noticed that Grant and I almost always had problems after spending time with Vanessa. She made comments that sounded harmless until I considered what they implied. "Grant, you look exhausted. Is Claire keeping you awake all night?" Or, "Claire has been under so much pressure at work. She's been a little irritable lately, hasn't she?" Grant rarely responded, but I could see that her constant involvement was wearing him down. She had turned herself into a third presence in our relationship, and every time I defended her, I made the situation worse. The breaking point came at Grant's company's black tie event. I had bought a new dress, and before we left his apartment, Grant looked at me as though I were the only woman in the world. For the first hour of the event, I felt confident and happy. Then Vanessa arrived. Neither Grant nor I had invited her. She appeared wearing a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent and holding the arm of an executive I had never met. "What a coincidence," she said when she saw us. It was not a coincidence. I later learned she had watched my social media, identified the event, and persuaded a man attending it to take her as his guest. Vanessa spent the evening inserting herself into conversations with Grant's colleagues. At one point, I saw her speaking privately with his boss. She glanced toward me while saying something that caused him to frown. When I asked Grant about it later, he looked deeply uncomfortable. "She told him you were thinking about leaving your job to start a family," he said. "What? She said you planned to resign within 6 months?" I had once told Vanessa, in a casual conversation, that I might want children someday. That was all. I had never said I intended to quit my job, and Grant and I had not discussed starting a family. We argued that night, not because Grant believed her, but because neither of us understood why someone I called my best friend would lie to his employer about my future. The more I tried to explain Vanessa's behavior, the less reasonable I sounded. "Why would she say something that specific?" Grant asked. "Maybe she misunderstood. She said you had a 6-month plan. That is not a misunderstanding. Maybe she thought she was helping. Helping me learn something about you that isn't true?" I had no answer. Deep down, I knew Vanessa was sabotaging me. Admitting it, however, meant accepting that I had spent years protecting a friendship that had never been mutual. Grant and I broke up 2 weeks later. He insisted the decision was not solely about Vanessa, but I understood that she had poisoned the relationship. Every time I defended her, I appeared more naive. Every time I minimized what she had done, I made Grant feel that the chaos would never end. The last thing he told me was, "I care about you, Claire, but I cannot stay in a relationship where there is always a third person creating conflict. I need peace." I did not fight for him. I was exhausted, ashamed, and no longer certain I knew how to protect a healthy relationship. As soon as Grant was gone, Vanessa disappeared again. She did not call to ask whether I was okay. She did not apologize for what she had done. She simply stopped contacting me because the successful boyfriend who had attracted her attention was no longer part of my life. That time, I was finally done. I blocked her number and every social media account I knew she used. For the next 8 months, my life was quiet. I earned a promotion at work and started therapy. My therapist helped me understand that my friendship with Vanessa had been built around 2 unhealthy needs. I needed to feel useful and indispensable. Vanessa needed someone she could return to whenever she wanted comfort, access, or a sense of superiority. I dated casually while learning how to make decisions without Vanessa's voice in my head. I went out with Caleb, who worked in finance and was kind but painfully dull. I had a few dates with Owen, who was funny and charming but still lived with his mother at 32. There were other men who were perfectly decent and simply not right for me. I was not searching for a serious relationship. I was relearning what it felt like to meet someone without immediately wondering what Vanessa would think. One Saturday night, I went to a downtown bar with several coworkers to celebrate a birthday. I was laughing over a story when I looked across the room and saw Cole. I already knew him in the casual way people recognize neighbors. He lived 2 floors below me in our apartment building, and we occasionally spoke in the elevator. We had discussed the weather, maintenance problems, and the building's unreliable hot water, but nothing personal. Cole was tall, broad-shouldered, and attractive in an unpolished way. He had dark hair that always looked slightly messy and tattoos across his forearms. I knew he worked in construction because I often saw him leaving early in the morning in work boots and jeans. He was standing with a group of friends when our eyes met. He smiled, and I smiled back. About an hour later, he walked over. "You're Claire, right? From the building?" "That's me." Can I buy you a drink? There was one important reason I hesitated. During the previous year, I had seen Cole carrying a baby several times. I assumed he was married or in a serious relationship, so before accepting the drink, I asked directly, "I've seen you with a little girl. Are you single?" "Very single," he said. "My ex and I have a 2-year-old daughter named Lily. We share custody, although she stays with me most of the time. That must be difficult." "It can be. Her mother and I were not right for each other, but we both love Lily. I'm trying to keep the co-parenting peaceful." He spoke without bitterness or self-pity. We talked for another hour. He asked questions about my work and listened carefully to the answers. He told me about the construction company he had started with his high school best friend 3 years earlier. "It's hard work," he said, "but I like making something that wasn't there before. At the end of the day, I can look at what we built." There was no performance in the way he spoke. He was not trying to impress me with money, influence, or a carefully curated image. He simply seemed comfortable being himself. He asked for my number, and I gave it to him. We started slowly. We met for coffee near our building and took walks through the park when the weather was good. Cole occasionally allowed me to say hello to Lily during video calls, but he was careful about keeping a boundary between dating and parenting. "I don't bring women into her life unless I believe the relationship could become serious," he explained on our third date. "She has already dealt with enough change. I'm not going to confuse her by letting people come and go." That answer increased my respect for him. Cole did not have Grant's wealth, but he was stable in ways that mattered more. He worked hard, took responsibility for his choices, and clearly adored his daughter. Whenever he showed me a picture of Lily, his entire face changed. "She's my whole world," he told me. "I did not know it was possible to love someone this much until she was born." Cole made me laugh without making me feel that I had to perform. With Ethan, I had often tried to seem sophisticated. With Grant, I sometimes worried about fitting into expensive restaurants and professional events. With Cole, I laughed so hard that I snorted, and he only laughed harder. He also remembered what I told him. Weeks after I mentioned a difficult client, he asked how the project had turned out. He was not collecting details to impress me. He genuinely cared about the answer. After about a month, Cole invited me to dinner at his apartment while Lily was with her mother. He cooked pasta and salad, lit candles, and cleaned so thoroughly that I could tell he had been preparing all day. After dinner, we sat together on the couch. He looked nervous, which I found strangely endearing. "I know dating me may be complicated," he said. "I have a daughter, an ex, and a job that gets me out of bed at 5 in the morning. Most days I come home covered in dust. But I really like you, Claire. I want to see where this could go, provided you want that too." I said yes without hesitating. Neither of us posted much about the relationship. Cole barely used social media, and I had learned the danger of giving Vanessa access to anything important. Eventually, though, I posted a casual photograph from a hike. There were no location tags or elaborate caption, only the two of us smiling beside each other. 2 nights later, someone knocked on my apartment door at 9 in the evening. Cole was spending the night with Lily, and I was not expecting anyone. When I opened the door, Vanessa stood in the hallway. She looked completely unlike the polished woman I remembered. Her hair was tangled, her makeup had run beneath her eyes, and she was wearing sweatpants with an oversized hoodie. Vanessa rarely allowed anyone to see her looking less than perfect. "Claire," she said, her voice shaking, "I need to talk to you, please." Every rational part of me wanted to close the door. Unfortunately, the part that remembered our childhood still existed. "You have 5 minutes," I said. The moment she entered, she began crying. "I am sorry," she said, "for disappearing, for what happened with Grant, for being a terrible friend. I know I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I have to tell you something." "What?" She took a breath and looked directly at me. "The man you're dating is the father of my child." For a moment, I thought I had misunderstood her. "What did you say?" "Cole is Lily's father. We were together for 3 years. We broke up about 8 months ago." I sat down because the room seemed to tilt beneath me. "You have a daughter?" "Yes." "You have had a child for 2 years and you never told me?" "I kept it private. I was embarrassed." Embarrassed about what? About getting pregnant, about not being ready to be a mother, about not wanting the life Cole wanted. "He takes care of Lily most of the time. I see her when I can." The admission was staggering. Vanessa had repeatedly called me her best friend, yet she had hidden a pregnancy, a birth, a 3-year relationship, and the existence of her own daughter. "Why are you telling me now?" "Because I saw your picture and recognized him. I needed to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "Cole told me he had a daughter and an ex. He has been honest with me." "Did he tell you why we broke up?" "He said you were not right for each other." Vanessa gave a bitter laugh. "That is the polite version. I cheated on him, more than once. I was seeing men who had more money than he did. Cole found out and threw me out. I've been trying to get him back ever since." The timing suddenly made sense. "You separated 8 months ago?" "Yes, that was immediately after Grant and I broke up." Vanessa lowered her eyes. "I know, you disappeared because your own relationship ended. It had nothing to do with me losing Grant. I'm not going to lie anymore. Yes, I was falling apart after Cole left. And yes, I usually came back when you were dating successful men. I was jealous. My life felt like a disaster, and yours always looked perfect. My life was never perfect. You only looked at it when I had something you wanted. I know, I'm sorry. But I still love Cole, and if you are dating him to punish me, I stood up. Get out. What? You came here after hiding your child from me for 2 years, and you are accusing me of dating Cole to hurt you? I did not know he was your ex. I did not know you had a daughter. I did not know any of this because you were never honest with me. Claire, please listen. No, you are not apologizing. You are trying to claim a man you cheated on because someone else is treating him well. Get out of my apartment. She continued crying, but I opened the door and waited until she left. Then I locked it and called Cole. Hey, beautiful, he answered. I could hear Lily talking in the background. She just fell asleep. What's going on? Did you know I was friends with your ex? There was a long silence. What? Vanessa came to my apartment. She says she is Lily's mother. Another silence followed, and I heard Cole move into a different room. Vanessa? The toxic friend you've told me about is Vanessa? You knew about her? You've mentioned a former friend who only appeared when you dated certain men. You never used her name. Claire, I had no idea you knew her. Is that why you approached me at the bar? No, absolutely not. I knew you as the woman from our building. I had never connected you to her. Why would I? She never mentioned you either. I believed him because the shock in his voice was immediate and unguarded. She says she wants you back. That is not happening. She says she has been trying. She sends messages that have nothing to do with Lily. I shut them down. She is my daughter's mother, and I respect that role, but that is the only relationship we have. Cole spent the next hour explaining the history I had never known. He and Vanessa met in a bar 5 years earlier. She had been charming, exciting, and affectionate at first. About a year into the relationship, she became pregnant. Cole was thrilled and immediately began planning how they could build a stable family. Vanessa grew distant during the pregnancy and remained detached after Lily's birth. At first, Cole wondered whether she was experiencing postpartum depression. He tried to support her, encouraged her to speak with someone, and took on more of the parenting while hoping she would reconnect. When Lily was about a year old, Cole found messages on Vanessa's phone. She was involved with 3 other men. Each one was paying certain bills or buying her expensive gifts, and each appeared to believe he was in an exclusive relationship with her. When Cole confronted her, Vanessa admitted everything. She said she felt trapped, had never truly wanted to become a mother, and wanted more than he could provide financially. Cole asked her to leave and began pursuing a formal custody arrangement. He eventually became Lily's primary parent because Vanessa repeatedly missed scheduled time with their daughter. For the previous 8 months, Cole had been trying to give Lily a stable home while maintaining enough communication with Vanessa to co-parent. I tried to save the relationship for Lily, he told me. But you cannot create a family with someone who does not want to be part of it. And I need you to understand that you are not a rebound. I care about you. I am completely serious about what we are building. I believed him. More importantly, I recognized that he had been honest from the beginning about having an ex and a child. The missing connection existed because Vanessa had hidden nearly every important part of her life from me. After we ended the call, I unblocked Vanessa's number and sent one message. We need to talk tomorrow. My apartment, noon, she replied almost immediately. Thank you. I'll be there. Vanessa arrived the following day looking composed. Her hair was styled, her makeup was perfect, and she carried herself as though she had prepared for a negotiation. I did not invite her to sit down. I'm going to explain what happens next, I said. I am dating Cole. That is not changing. You had a relationship with him and you destroyed it through your own choices. Her expression tightened, but I continued. I also understand something now that I should have recognized years ago. You were never my friend in the way I was yours. When I was lonely, single, or struggling, you ignored me. Whenever I became happy, you returned and tried to make yourself part of whatever I had. That isn't fair. It is completely fair. You came back for Ethan. You came back for Grant. You disappeared after both relationships ended. You used information I trusted you with to cause arguments, embarrass me, and damage my relationships. I said I was sorry. You are sorry that I am dating Cole. That is not the same thing. Vanessa looked away. Cole and I are going to continue seeing each other, I said. Because you are Lily's mother, you will remain connected to our lives. We will be civil. We will communicate when necessary. We will support whatever arrangement is healthiest for your daughter. But you and I are no longer friends. You really care about him, she said quietly. I do. More than you cared about Ethan or Grant? This is not a competition between men. Cole is a good person. He deserves someone who is fully committed, and for the first time in my life, I believe I can be that person. Vanessa was silent for several seconds. Her anger faded into something closer to resignation. For what it's worth, she said, Cole is a good man. I was too selfish to appreciate him. Yes, I answered. You were. She left without another argument. I hoped that setting a clear boundary would allow all of us to move forward. 3 weeks later, Cole and I planned my first real outing with Lily. We took her to the zoo. She was shy when she first saw me and hid behind Cole's legs. peeking around him whenever I spoke. I did not pressure her. I stayed close enough to be included, but gave her time to decide whether she trusted me. Within an hour, she was holding one of my hands and one of Cole's while leading us toward each new enclosure. She wore a pink dress covered in tiny elephants and light-up shoes that flashed every time she stomped. "Daddy, look! Monkeys!" she shouted, pressing close to the glass. Cole lifted her so she could see. "What do monkeys say?" he asked. Lily made exaggerated monkey noises and dissolved into giggles. I recorded a short video of them, and as I watched Cole holding his daughter, something shifted inside me. I could imagine belonging in this life. After the zoo, we bought ice cream. Lily covered most of her face in chocolate and refused to stay still long enough for Cole to clean her. "Lily," I said, "if you let your dad wipe your face, I'll show you a magic trick." She froze. Magic? I performed a simple coin trick my father had taught me when I was a child, making a quarter disappear and then pulling it from behind her ear. Her eyes widened. Again! Cole looked at me over her head with a soft, grateful smile that made my chest tighten. We returned to his apartment after the zoo because Lily was nearly asleep in her car seat. Cole carried her inside and put her down for a nap while I waited in the living room. His home was modest but comfortable. Toys were organized in bins. Photographs of Lily covered the shelves and walls. Children's books sat beside the few novels Cole owned, and cartoon magnets crowded the refrigerator. It did not resemble Grant's elegant downtown apartment with its perfect furniture and view of the city. Cole's apartment looked lived in. It felt like a home. After putting Lily to bed, he returned to the living room. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For today. For being patient with her and making her feel comfortable. I know dating someone with a child is not simple. She is wonderful, Cole, and you are doing an amazing job raising her." He pulled me close. "I meant what I told you. I would not introduce her to someone unless I believed the relationship was serious. I know. I am serious about you. I am serious about you too." When we kissed, it felt less like the beginning of something uncertain and more like a promise we were both consciously making. Before leaving the zoo, we had asked someone to take a photograph of the three of us in front of the elephant exhibit. Lily sat on Cole's shoulders while I stood beside them. That evening, Cole posted the picture. He rarely posted anything, so the gesture mattered to me. His caption was simple: "A good day with my girls. My girls." For the first time, I felt included in something stable and real. That night, my phone began filling with messages from former classmates, distant relatives, and people I had not spoken with in years. "Have you seen Vanessa's post? You need to look at what Vanessa wrote. Is Cole back together with Vanessa?" I opened her profile and felt my stomach drop. Vanessa had posted an old photograph of herself with Cole from years earlier. They looked younger and happy. His arm was around her, and she was staring up at him with an expression of complete devotion. Her caption claimed that the greatest love stories were sometimes the ones people fought to recover. She wrote that she and Cole had endured many difficulties, but were rebuilding their family for Lily. She described co-parenting as challenging, suggested they were still in love, and praised second chances. None of it was true. Cole called within minutes. "Did you see it?" "Yes, I'm calling her now. She cannot do this." "Wait," I said. "I have another idea." The next day, I went to Vanessa's apartment. I had only visited once before, years earlier. It was in a building nicer than mine, and I had always wondered how she paid for it. By then, I understood that someone else probably covered most of her expenses. Vanessa looked startled when she opened the door. "Claire, why are you here? We need to talk. May I come in?" She hesitated before stepping aside. The apartment was cluttered with clothing and takeout containers. A few children's toys had been placed in one corner, but they looked untouched. There were no photographs of Lily on the walls and no indication that a child regularly spent time there. We sat in the living room. "The post you made was a lie," I said. "I was only trying to explain." "No, you were trying to make me appear to be the other woman. You wanted people to think Cole had returned to you and that I was interfering with your family." "That is not what I meant." "It is exactly what you meant. This is what you have always done. You create confusion, plant doubts, and keep yourself at the center of whatever is happening." Vanessa crossed her arms. "You think everything is about you." "No, I finally understand that everything has always had to be about you. How many times did you create a crisis so I would stop my life and rescue you? How many times did you interfere with my relationships because you could not tolerate seeing me happy? How many people have you used for money, attention, or reassurance?" She did not answer. "I spent years thinking you were a good person with problems," I continued. "Now I understand that you are someone who repeatedly creates problems and expects other people to absorb the consequences. What do you want from me? I want you to admit that you do not truly want Cole. You want what he represents. He is stable. He is loyal. He takes responsibility. You want the security he offered, but you were never willing to do the work required to build a life with him. You know nothing about my life. Then tell me, why are you doing this?" Something in Vanessa's expression collapsed. She covered her face and began crying. These were not the controlled tears she usually used when she wanted sympathy. Her entire body shook. "I'm pregnant," she said. The confession stopped me. "What?" "I am 8 weeks pregnant. It is not Cole's." I stared at her. "Do you know who the father is?" There are two possibilities. Neither man wants anything to do with me. I do not know what I'm going to do. I can barely take care of Lily, and now I am going to have another baby. Does Cole know? No. No one knows except you. You need to tell him. He'll hate me. He may be angry or disappointed, but he is Lily's primary parent. This child will be Lily's sibling, so the situation affects the way you co-parent. Vanessa wiped her face and looked at me with genuine confusion. Why are you helping me after everything I've done? I am not offering to solve this for you. I am telling you the truth. You need professional help. You need to understand why you keep making choices that hurt you, your daughter, and everyone who tries to care about you. I don't know how to change. Then, learn. Find a therapist. Be honest with Cole. Attend your medical appointments. Stop posting lies online. Start showing up consistently for Lily. Most importantly, stay out of my relationship. Vanessa nodded. I am sorry, Claire. You deserved a better friend. Yes, I said. I did. I left feeling neither victorious nor satisfied. Mostly, I felt sad. I was sad for Vanessa, for Lily, and for the unborn child entering a complicated situation through no fault of its own. I was also sad for the years I had spent trying to rescue a friendship that had never truly existed. Vanessa called Cole the following day and told him about the pregnancy. I was present when he answered. I watched shock, frustration, and concern move across his face while he listened. Okay, he said. Take a breath. Have you seen a doctor yet? He paused. No, I am not judging you right now, but this baby will be Lily's sibling, and we need to understand how that may affect her. I'll help you find the appropriate resources. When the call ended, he looked exhausted. Are you all right? I asked. That was a lot to process, but the baby did not choose this situation. I cannot pretend it has nothing to do with Lily. You are a very good person. I'm trying to do the responsible thing. Vanessa is unstable, but Lily deserves parents who can communicate without turning every problem into a war. Over the next several weeks, Cole helped Vanessa locate a prenatal clinic, a therapist, and a support group for mothers. At her request, he accompanied her to a few appointments, not as her partner, but as Lily's father and someone trying to prepare for the arrival of his daughter's sibling. I would be lying if I said it was always easy to watch him treat Vanessa with kindness. A part of me wanted him to reject every request she made. Another part understood that his compassion was one of the reasons I loved being with him. He was not helping her because he wanted her back. He was trying to reduce the instability surrounding his daughter. The improvement in Lily was noticeable. She seemed calmer when her parents communicated without fighting. She began talking about her mother's baby with curiosity rather than confusion. Vanessa deleted the misleading social media post. She apologized to Cole and began attending her scheduled time with Lily more consistently. During one custody exchange, she apologized to me as well. I know it does not repair what I did, she said, but I am trying to become better. Good, I answered. Lily deserves that. That conversation happened 2 months after the confrontation in her apartment. By then, Cole and I had been together for 6 months. It was the healthiest relationship I had ever experienced. We communicated directly, instead of allowing small concerns to become secret resentments. We met each other's families, spent ordinary evenings together, and slowly created routines that included Lily without forcing anything. Meeting Cole's family was intimidating. His mother, Diane, had watched Vanessa hurt her son and was naturally protective. During our first dinner, she observed nearly everything I did. I could feel her studying the way I spoke to Cole and interacted with Lily. At one point, Lily struggled to cut her food, so I helped without making a production of it. I listened when Cole's relatives told old family stories instead of redirecting the conversation toward myself. Before I left, Diane pulled me aside. My son deserves someone who shows up, she said. Someone who recognizes what he is worth. I think you may be that person. I am trying to be, I told her. My own family accepted Cole more easily. My mother adored Lily almost immediately. My father respected Cole's direct, practical personality. No games, he said approvingly after their first meeting. I like people who say what they mean. Lily stopped calling me Miss Claire and began simply calling me Claire. She asked when I was coming over and drew pictures of herself standing between Cole and me. Cole told me he had never seen her so relaxed. When she started preschool, Lily informed her teacher that she had a daddy, a mommy, and a Claire. The teacher later asked Cole about the arrangement. After he explained, she smiled. Whatever you are doing, continue doing it, she told him. She seems happy and secure. One evening, Cole and I were preparing dinner in his kitchen. Cooking together had become part of our weekly routine. Lily was staying with Vanessa that night. Cole was chopping vegetables while I stirred pasta sauce. Without warning, he said, "Move in with me." I stopped stirring. What? Not tomorrow. Not before you are ready, but when your lease ends, I want you here. I want to wake up beside you. I want Lily to have consistency, and I want us to become a family. He quickly added, "You do not have to answer tonight. I did not need more time." Yes, he stared at me. Yes, I want to move in. I want all of it. He kissed me while both of us laughed. We decided I would move after my lease expired 2 months later. That gave us time to prepare Lily, organize the apartment, and make the transition carefully rather than treating it as an impulsive romantic gesture. By then, Vanessa was 5 months pregnant. She was attending therapy and showing up for Lily more consistently, at least according to what Cole observed. I remained civil with her during pickups and drop-offs, but we were not rebuilding our friendship. We exchanged necessary information and nothing more. One night, Cole and I lay in bed discussing the future. We talked about the move, the possibility of marriage someday, and whether we might eventually have another child. "Are you certain you want this life?" he asked. "A child, an ex, all the complications?" "You are not a complication," I said. "Lily is not a complication. This is simply real life. Real life can be difficult and still be beautiful." How did I become this lucky? I'm the lucky one. I meant it. The following morning, I arrived at Cole's apartment early. Although I still had my own place for another month, I was already spending most nights with him. Lily was sitting in her pajamas watching a cartoon. "Claire!" she shouted when she saw me. She ran toward me and I lifted her into my arms. "Good morning, Bug. What are we watching?" "Princesses." Cole came out of the kitchen carrying coffee for both of us. "You're here early," he said. "I couldn't sleep. Too much on your mind?" "Only good things. I'm excited about all of this." He kissed my forehead. "So am I." We made breakfast together. Lily received chocolate chip pancakes, while Cole and I ate eggs. She talked continuously about her cartoon and an upcoming playdate with her friend Sophie. Nothing about the morning was glamorous. There was no expensive restaurant, formal event, or carefully staged social media picture. We were sitting at a small kitchen table while a 2-year-old covered herself in syrup. It was perfect. After breakfast, Cole left for a construction site and Lily went to her playdate. I returned to my apartment to continue packing. While sorting through old boxes, I found a high school photo album filled with pictures of Vanessa and me at football games, prom, sleepovers, and graduation. We looked young, happy, and certain we would remain friends forever. Part of me mourned the friendship I thought we had. I felt sorry for the younger version of myself who mistook being constantly needed for being loved. Mostly, however, I felt grateful that I had finally learned the difference. For a moment, I considered sending Vanessa a message saying I forgave her. Then I realized I did not need to create a dramatic reconciliation in order to move on. Forgiveness did not require renewed access. Sometimes closure was simply accepting what had happened and refusing to repeat it. I placed the album in a storage box. My phone buzzed with a message from Cole. "Miss you already. Lily wants you to come to the park after her playdate. Are you available?" I replied immediately. "Always." I grabbed my keys and left the past in the box where it belonged. A few nights later, I was reading a bedtime story to Lily while Cole stepped outside the room to answer a work call. In the middle of the book, Lily looked up at me with her large brown eyes. "Claire, are you going to stay?" "Stay where, Bug?" "Here, with me and Daddy." "Forever?" My throat tightened. "Do you want me to stay?" She nodded seriously. "You make Daddy smile more, and you do the best voices when you read, and you are not scary like some of Daddy's friends." I laughed. "I'm not scary?" "No, you're nice, you smell good, and you let me put stickers on your phone. Those are excellent reasons. So you'll stay?" I hugged her. "I am not going anywhere." "Promise?" "Promise." Cole returned in time to hear the end of the conversation. After Lily fell asleep, he pulled me into his arms in the hallway. "She loves you," he whispered. "I love her too. And I love you." It was the first time I had said the words. They came out naturally before I could become afraid of them. Cole's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too, Claire, more than I know how to explain." We stood outside Lily's room holding each other, and I thought about the strange path that had brought me there. Had Vanessa not sabotaged my relationship with Grant, I might have remained with a man who could never tolerate the chaos surrounding me. Had she not disappeared whenever I was single, I might never have learned how to value my own company. Had she not been exactly who she was, I might never have recognized the importance of boundaries. I was not grateful for her lies or manipulation. I was grateful that I had finally stopped allowing those things to define my choices. Several weeks later, I saw Vanessa in the produce section of a grocery store. Her pregnancy was obvious, and she looked tired. We both hesitated before speaking. "Claire," she said. "Vanessa, how are you feeling?" "Tired, nauseous, the usual." "When are you due?" "In about 3 months. It's a boy." "That will be exciting for Lily. She'll have a little brother." Vanessa nodded. "How is she?" "She's doing well. She likes preschool and talks about her classmates constantly. And you spend a lot of time with her now." It was more observation than question. "Yes. I'm moving in with Cole next month." Vanessa lowered her eyes for a moment, then nodded. "That is probably good. Cole deserves someone who is completely committed. Lily deserves stability. She also deserves a mother who shows up." The statement hurt her, but she did not argue. "I'm trying," she said. "For Lily, for the baby, and for myself." We stood there awkwardly until I told her I needed to leave. "Claire?" she called as I turned away. "Yes?" "Thank you for being good to Lily, and to Cole. They are fortunate to have you." I did not know how to answer. so I simply nodded and continued walking. It was not a reconciliation. It was two former friends acknowledging the reality of the lives we had created. That evening, I returned to packing. Cole planned to come over later to help, and Lily was spending the night with Vanessa. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother asking whether Cole and Lily could join us for Sunday dinner before the move. I smiled and replied that we would be there. That was my life now. Family dinners, bedtime stories, preschool conversations, and a man who worked with his hands and loved his daughter with his entire heart. It looked nothing like the future I had once imagined. It was better because it was real. I did not know whether Vanessa's progress would last. I did not know whether she would remain consistent after her son was born or return to her old patterns. I could not predict whether Cole might eventually become involved in supporting another child who was not biologically his because that child was Lily's sibling. For the first time, I understood that none of those uncertainties were mine to control. My responsibility was to show up for the people who showed up for me. That meant Cole, who sent me a message every morning even when he started work before sunrise. It meant Lily, who trusted me enough to hold my hand and ask me to stay. It meant my parents, whom I had sometimes neglected while trying to rescue Vanessa. It also meant protecting myself. The doorbell rang earlier than expected. When I opened the door, Cole stood in the hallway holding a pizza and wearing the crooked smile that still made my stomach flip. "Ready to pack?" he asked. "Ready to start." We spent the night filling boxes, eating pizza from paper plates, and planning where my furniture would fit in his apartment. Soon, it would be our apartment. Cole made me laugh with stories from Lily's preschool. I told him about the latest drama among my coworkers. Nothing felt forced. There were no hidden motives, no subtle insults, and no need to compete for attention. Around midnight, we sat on the floor surrounded by boxes. "I cannot wait until you are officially home," he said. "Neither can I. Lily asked me yesterday whether you were going to become her stepmother." My heart skipped. "What did you tell her?" I said maybe someday, provided Claire wants to be. "And what did she say?" She said, "Claire wants to be. She promised she would stay forever." I smiled. She asked me about that. "No one can resist those eyes. She has you completely under control. She always has. You are a wonderful father, Cole. I am trying." "You do more than try." He reached for my hand. "And you are good for both of us," he said. "Better than good. You are everything I hoped we might find." When we kissed, it still carried the same sense of promise I had felt after our first day with Lily. It felt like choosing and being chosen. After Cole left to sleep before his early shift, I sat alone in my nearly empty apartment and thought about all the versions of myself I had been. There was the 7th grade girl who believed she had found a friend for life. There was the college student who sacrificed sleep, grades, and peace to keep that friend from falling apart. There was the adult who repeatedly excused cruelty because she believed abandoning someone was worse than being mistreated. For years, I had confused usefulness with love. If someone needed me, I assumed that meant I mattered. Vanessa had relied on that weakness every time she disappeared and returned. I was becoming someone different. I knew my value did not depend on fixing another person's life. I could care about people without giving them unlimited access to mine. I could choose myself without becoming selfish. Vanessa had shown me what I did not want. Cole and Lily were showing me what healthy love looked like. Sometimes the wrong relationships do not lead directly to the right ones, but they teach us what we can no longer accept. Before going to bed, my phone buzzed with a message from an unfamiliar number. "Hi Claire, it's Vanessa. I know I do not have the right to ask, but could you help me choose a birthday gift for Lily next month? I want to get something she will genuinely like. I understand if you do not want to help." I stared at the message for several minutes. The old version of me would have answered immediately. I would have seen her request as evidence that she had changed and treated it as an opportunity to repair the friendship. I would have taken responsibility for helping her become the mother she should have been. The new version of me could recognize two truths at once. Vanessa might genuinely be trying, and it still was not my responsibility to guide her through every step. I replied with one sentence. "Ask Cole. He knows Lily better than anyone." My answer was not cruel or punitive. It was simply a boundary. Vanessa responded a moment later. "You're right, thank you." I placed the phone beside me and finished packing for the night. The next morning, I would go to work. That evening, I would have dinner with Cole and Lily. Over the weekend, Lily and I planned to plant flowers in the small garden beside the apartment building. The following month, I would officially move into their home. Somewhere within that same period, Vanessa would prepare to give birth. She would either continue doing the work required to become a more dependable mother, or she would fall back into the habits that had shaped most of her adult life. Either way, it was no longer my problem to solve. I had finally learned that loyalty without boundaries becomes permission. I could not rescue someone who refused to take responsibility for herself, and I could not build a healthy future while constantly reopening the door to a toxic past. The best revenge was never destroying Vanessa's life or proving that I had won. It was waking up genuinely happy without needing her approval, envy, or attention. As I fell asleep in my apartment for one of the final times, surrounded by boxes and plans for the future, I felt peaceful. Not because Vanessa had suffered, and not because I had taken something that once belonged to her. Cole was not a prize, and Lily was not part of a competition. I was happy because I had finally chosen relationships in which love moved in both directions. Vanessa had only returned when she believed I possessed something she wanted. Cole and Lily wanted me exactly as I was, without conditions, status, or performance. For years, I had been searching for someone who would choose me. In the end, I found something even better, people I could choose freely, knowing they would keep choosing me too.